Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Nick Eden, and you are tuned in to episode 5 of Morning Cup of Merch. So, guys, a couple of quick things that I want to talk about before I get into today's topic. First, 4554 podcast is back. The newest episode went live last night. If you guys were previous subscribers, one, thank you very much, especially those who've been rocking with me since the beginning in September of 2017. But if you're already subscribed to the podcast, you may notice that there will two different results for the podcast. You will have to subscribe again because I'm using a new host, and unfortunately, it's not connecting me to the past shows. Those past shows are still there, so everybody who's subscribed on iTunes and everything, those shows are still there. So at any given time, please feel free to go back and check those out. But going forward, it would be subscribing to the new channel. Subscribing to the new podcast. In addition to that, because I have this new host, it's opened up a whole lot of opportunities that I should have been doing this a long time ago. But hey, you live and you learn. But the 4554 podcast is also going to be put directly on my YouTube channel. So you can tell episode 30 is on the channel now. So when you're done with this one, if you'd like to check it out, just head right back over to the channel, click on it, and it's right there. So every Monday when the podcast comes out on iTunes and Stitcher and all those other wonderful places, it'll also be right here on YouTube. So that'll make it pretty convenient for you. My book, Word of Mouse, Reputation Management for Print on Demand. Spoke with my editor over the weekend. It looks like we're going to be looking at a late May, early June release on the book. What I'm actually going to do over the next 2 or 3 weeks is release one of the chapters for free so everybody can just kind of, get your feet wet, because I think a lot of people don't really know what reputation management really is. And I know that because it's a part of my corporate background. So I've had to explain to a lot of people, and once I explain it, they actually know what it is. So I'm going to release the chapter so that everybody can look and see and just kind of get a feel of what they want, or if they would actually like to get the book, which I hope you all do, because I think if you are looking to take your e-commerce, particularly in print on demand career, a little further, I think that'll help you when you start things like Etsy and your own Shopify store and just managing your brand's reputation overall. So I'm really excited about that. So let's get into the meat of it. Today, I spoke with someone who said, hey, with the changes in Merch by Amazon, are text-based designs still good to go on the platform? And let me break down the context first. This is one of my quote-unquote students, I guess you could call it. And she kind of came out of the gate immediately with her own brand and pushing her own brand in that sense. She since decided, hey, I'm going to check out some other niches. I'm going to look into some other areas and see if I can supplement where my brand is still building and get some extra cash flow. But she's not a designer. I look at this in two ways. The first way, I look at that as being a good thing, because if someone who is not a designer is saying, hey, let me seek out some advice on this before I take this step, I think that's a good thing for the platform. I'll also say, as Merch by Amazon has grown, and it's part to do with the information that's out there. So, whereas before, you had a lot of crappy designs that sold on merch, and you have a lot of crappy designs that are still there. But, there wasn't a lot of information out. There wasn't a lot of courses out or anything like that. Not a lot of YouTube videos for those of us who started, rather early. It was just a few. Really, it was just like Merch Minds, whenever Chris Green would do his lives and things like that. But outside of that, you really just didn't have a lot. And there are a lot more outsourced graphics now. And a lot more people are using illustrators and really graphic bundles and different things like that. So it has made the quality of the shirts on merch just a lot better than they were. That being said, even with all the competition, even with all the illustrations, even with all of that, text-based designs do still sell. Now, it's what type of text-based designs, that's the real question. And it's a few things that you have to take into consideration. One, you got to take into consideration what kind of niche it's in. If it's a political trend, or if it's something that just pops up and it's like, hey, we need to get something up there now, which is what a lot of people do. You have to look at font selection. You have to look at typography. Young, I'm actually going to link a little later Young's book on typography, which I think is amazing. And if you have not checked that out, you really should consider that. Like, it's a really good book, really super duper easy read, and it will help you in terms of your typography and understanding that and helping you put together better text-based designs. So my personal opinion, because I still sell a lot of text-based designs, I think they still work. I think that you have to have a fundamental understanding of text-based designs. Now, I'll say this much, because I understand everybody doesn't have an iPhone. But if you're going to have a text-based design, my personal preference, when I do them, I really don't sit at my computer and do text-based designs anymore. I leave that to the graphic work. When I'm doing those text-based designs, I'm doing them on the Over app. Now, again, I know everybody doesn't have an iPhone. Maybe get an iPod or an iPad, or even when I had an Android, I would use Logopit Plus for my text-based designs. And a lot of times, those designs that I did on my phone sold more than the things that I did on my computer. So it's still very viable, but the same way I would tell you to approach either outsourcing or designing yourself on the computer, I would tell you to do the same thing when it comes to doing things text-based and things on your phone. It still has to look like a good design. It still has to hold up with everything else and be consistent with what else is in the marketplace and currently selling. You still have to give it the same type of respect that you would if you were outsourcing a design, if it was an illustration. And I think that when people look at those purely word-based designs, they think, oh, maybe I don't have to give as much. It's a helicopter going over above me. Oh, you guys probably heard it. But you still have to give it, the best way to explain it is, it's not just let me write out this phrase and throw it up and it's going to sell 200 copies. No, that may happen in some situations, but I can guarantee you by the time you get that fifth or sixth sale, someone else has scouted that niche, and especially if it's a trend, and you make it easier for your competition when you just throw something up there. You make it much easier for them, because at that point it's like, oh, okay, well, I was first to market, so I put it up there. Okay, why not be first to market with a quality design, text or graphic? Why not be first to market with that? That gives you a better chance of fully dominating that market, that niche. And eventually you will get competition, and eventually you will get copycats. But it's going to be hard for them to come behind what you did if you put real quality into it. So I know I'm going to put up a couple videos. I'm going to put up one video today about text-based and using the Over app. There are some other ones out there. I know Chris put up one. I know it's a lot out there. I want to say RJ put one up, but respect the design the same way you would a design that you're paying $5 to $35 for. That's the best way I can explain it. And if you do that, you are mentally giving yourself an edge, because you're looking at every graphic that you put up there as a piece of work that could be displayed for the entire world, because it literally is. The best way I can explain it to someone, I had to talk with a friend of mine who wanted to get some billboards done, and he wanted to use an old graphic that really didn't look good. And I asked him, I said, well, let me ask you a question. And I forget the name of the company that owns them. But if the people who own the billboards in Times Square in New York came to you and they said, hey, we believe in your business, we want to help you succeed, we're going to place one of your ads flat in Times Square for the world to see. What you got for us? Would you take that existing design and put it up there? Most people wouldn't. Most people were like, man, this is a huge opportunity. I got to get the best work done. I'm going to ask you the same thing. If that same company came to you and said, hey, we believe in your t-shirts and we're going to take one of your t-shirts and we're going to plaster it in Times Square, what you got for us? Would you take one of those terrible text fonts and just throw it up there and say, oh, well, here you go? Or would you actually take the time to put up a quality design there, text or graphic? You would probably take the time. I'll say this much. Amazon gets more eyes than that New York billboard. If you look at the pure stats of it, it gets more eyes. And because it gets more eyes, you have the potential to reach the same amount of people that New York billboard reaches. So take the same care with your designs, no matter what type of design it is. And I'll also say this, that remember the biggest selling t-shirt of the 90s was a text-based design. It said Austin 316. It's all about research. It's all about the niche. It's all about, it's all of those things. But take care in it and take actual steps to make sure that what you're putting out is the absolute best quality that it can possibly be. Because once it sells once, it's up there. So that's all I got for today, guys. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that's been tuning into this series. Like, I really appreciate it. I cannot stress how much I really appreciate it. This came kind of on a whim, and I'm glad it's come together. I actually really enjoy doing this, and doing this every day is building a habit for me in terms of keeping content going, and it's just, I'm really appreciating everybody who's been supporting it. So thank you, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.